Got it. Okay, that's the rest of it. Okay, so sorry for the interruption, everybody. Sorry I had to wait so long for the second part, but here it is. Enjoy. Gogeta versus Vegito.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Yeah. This one got number 13 on Richard's list. Number 7 on ZDogg's, and number 5 on mine.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. So I guess in the meantime I'll start first while Richard waits.
Sure.
Okay, well, just being outright, I think people are being way too harsh on this episode, being straight up. Like,
no, really? I couldn't tell.
I know. Like, I totally understand if not being a Dragon Ball fan could affect that for a season series finale, not series. No, a season finale that could affect it. But I don't know. There's just a lot of cool stuff done in this fight. I really like both analyses going into the weirder side of Dragon Ball with GT for Gogeta. I don't know. I just really like what they did with it, going into a lot of unorthodoxy and a lot of minute details about the fusions in general. I just wanted a very, very enjoyable analysis. The fight was freaking cool. Very action-packed, another very popcorn-esque fight, as Richard would put it. But I just think it's done really well. Yeah, I mean, does it feel a little bit short for a finale? I mean, a little bit, but I think what they did with it is really good. I really like a lot of the moments. I've loved the Super Saiyan headbutt. That was a great moment.
Can I interject for just a hot second?
Sure.
Future me, can you do me a favor real quick and play a sample of the soundtrack?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
I guess I just, on that freaking amazing soundtrack, dear gosh, Dragon Dance, what the hell. It's not my favorite this year, but dear gosh, it's a fantastic one. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know, like I said, it's going to be a bit of a harder one to get into if you're not a Dragon Ball fan, but like, I don't know. I mean, I still really liked it. I think it's a very fun watch, even if you're not a Dragon Ball fan. And I just really hope that it picks up with time. Like, the more time the longer it's out, the more it'll have time to sink in with people and become a favorite. And even if it doesn't, I just think it's a very solid watch with a lot of cool moments. And yeah.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Hello.
All right. So you go.
Okay. Okay. I have. There's a key theme in my ranking, at least near the bottom ones, specific 3 ones. It's warming up to them, and when this fight was announced, I was curious. And I was interested. I had so much hype for it because it is an old debate from childhood. But the execution, in my personal opinion, just as a season finale, which we did talk about this in our rankings, and me and Brobuscus had a great back and forth debate over it.
Yeah.
This season finale just lacked what made a season finale work. And I do believe that has nothing to do with the animation or the writing portion of it. It's just these two characters are, or I'm sorry, technically these four characters, they're just people who can't go through anything in this because, well, they're already at the point of their journey where they've already done it all. So it really was just a spectacle fight, and as ZDogg referred to what I said about Harley Quinn and Jinx, a popcorn fight. And in that regard, I think it did do its job. I have gotten more hyped when I've rewatched it, but that only comes down to watching other people's reactions, because people's reactions to a fight that I may not feel at first can go a long way for making up for it, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the animation, again, I did mention this. I feel like it just needed even more time. It did feel like
this is.
I'm
sensing a theme here.
Yeah, I know. Yes, the theme. You are sensing the theme. I don't know. I just feel like it could have been even more epic, more grand. But what it was, I will say, because again, this comes from multiple rewatches, it's good. Like, it really is good. It may feel like the equivalent of two action figures going against each other, but I feel like when you really get down to it, that's kind of the whole point. And the Dragon Ball community has severely gone too far with their assassination over this fight, especially with the outcome.
Oh gosh, don't remind me.
Yes, names I will not mention, but they have pretty much just stated, it's like, oh, did they even pay attention? Did they do this? Did they do that? And it's like, ironically, you guys didn't pay attention. Multiple people didn't pay attention because they justify why Vegito won. If it was just a different version of Vegito versus Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta, then yes, that would prove to be why Gogeta would win. But it isn't. I like a lot of things in this fight, aside from the multiple negatives, which there are some, but that only comes down to jank, and that's it. I love the amount of fan service we get. The little stuff like their Super Saiyan transformation. Instead of just transforming, they headbutt each other, and then they go Super Saiyan. The great use of Blue and 4 going at it. I love it. I really love the visual aesthetic at play here.
Not bad. You want to kick it up a notch?
Yes. I love that. The Big Bang Kamehameha and the final Kamehameha clashing. So fucking cool. Them going from the lookout to the Snake Way above Hiffle to Kame House to the Time Chamber, and then right back where they started at the lookout again. I like that. I love it when we can get more locale in Dragon Ball. It's great. And yeah, that final shot, well, I've seen a lot of people call it out. Well, why would Gogeta use the Stardust attack on Vegito? He's not evil. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, you're right.
I don't know. It seemed pretty effective against Broly.
That's true. It did. It did. It did seem effective against Broly. But I think it was just, okay, maybe this is just how it was in the writing. I kind of wish that they would have had the final Kamehameha versus the Stardust attack. I feel like that would have been better. But regardless of that, I also just love the callbacks. The callbacks in this episode. I think that's what carries it for me. And also to Michael Kovad and Lenny Pator as Gogeta and Vegito, very good choice. Even though it was kind of hard to tell, like, is this supposed to be a fusion, or is this just Michael and Lenny talking? Because, Brobuscus, you made a great point on the last episode that audio-wise,
I'll come back to that.
Kind of off. But still good. Again, Michael Kovac's Kamehamehas are so fucking epic. I could listen to him do them forever. And, of course, Dragon Dance. Oh my god, what a great track to go out on. Like, the fact that frickin' the Brandon got the goat who did Bury the Light.
Freaking Victor Borba. My gosh, I still can't believe that.
Yeah. So, yeah, overall, this has great things in it, and I have learned to appreciate it, especially since it took an extra week to get done, and I can totally see that in the animation. All the animators, they did a great job, and this is probably one of the most, I wouldn't say epic, but I would say this is one of the most satisfying Dragon Ball fights I've seen, because it does tie to a specific argument the community itself has had for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Not my favorite season finale. I don't think it'll ever be, but it is definitely a good season finale in its own right. It's just, I, once again, feel like the main thing that kept it from being maybe higher on my initial ranking was time. That's it. Nothing more. But still. Good shit.
Yeah.
All right. Guess it's now or never. Here, see, Richard got it. Yeah, I don't know. I love this episode. ZDogg mentioned, like, yeah, you're probably not gonna have as fun of a time if you're not a Dragon Ball fan. And I can kind of attest to that. I don't like my relationship with Dragon Ball is weird. Because like there's a lot I like about it, but I just can't will myself to like sit down and be like, yeah, these parts are great, you know. Like I've mentioned that I've fallen out recently, like before Super started. And from the sound of things, it's kind of sounds like I'm missing very, very little. I did jump back in after Super Broly, but then after that, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I still have not seen Superhero, for example. So kind of having that like back and forth, kind of apathy towards Dragon Ball. I still can sit down and be like, yeah, this episode's really fun. Like I said, like ZDogg said, the analysis was great. That I do like them going into like yeah, there are a lot of people who think that Gogeta would win, and then in Vegito's analysis, they're like, oh yeah, there's a lot of people who think Vegeta would win too. I think that's a good detail. Yeah, just learning about the two fusions was neat. Obviously, being fusions, not like if this was like Goku or Vegeta, they would have a lot more to go into, obviously. But you know, with it being the fusions have a collective total of like maybe 10 appearances across the entirety of the Dragon Ball franchise. So there's not really a lot of story to go into, which kind of helps out a lot for this one. And then the fight is it's kind of amazing to me that this is the episode that tied to Tanjiro versus Jonathan. Because like I look at these two side by side and I'm like, how did these two end up tying? Okay. But because like for me, like I like Tanjiro versus Jonathan, but looking at Gogeta versus Vegito, I'm like, this is where it's at.
Absolutely.
Like the animation was sick. I will say on the topic of the voice performances, I know I sounded a little I don't know, like I guess critical might be the best term for it. That's not really like the fault of anybody. It's really just for me. It was really just the sound mixing, like mixing the two voices together. I know that's like borderline impossible, but still. And I actually learned, because we recorded that before the commentary came out, and I learned because of that a little bit of an interesting fact. So when they were recording, so they got Nick in first and basically had him do all the lines and whatnot. And when they brought in Michael, they were like, okay, so we had Lanny already. Just provide your performance as Goku over top it. Which was interesting. I mentioned last time that it sounded more like Michael Kovac with a reverb effect on it rather than hearing both Michael and Lanny on there. I will say upon rewatch that I don't entirely agree with that anymore. I still think there are some lines that are like that are a little weird in that department. Gogeta's "Guess It's Now or Never" line is still like, it's a good line and it's well delivered. It's just like I only hear one person in there and I can't for the life of me tell who it is.
I think it's mostly Michael for me.
It's probably. I think Lanny really stood out on the lines like
Want to kick it up or not? I'm sorry, not that. Sure. But how about some variety?
Yeah,
like,
that
I mostly heard Lanny in that one.
Yeah, that one. Also his gotcha. I heard Lanny in that one too.
Yeah.
I really. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just gonna. Sorry to interrupt you, but real quickly, I think maybe what would have helped. I don't know if you'll agree, but maybe to help clean it up audio-wise, maybe it would have been a good idea. I could be misremembering it, but I think the reason why the audio for the original Vegito versus Super Buu was so good is because I think, not 100% sure, but I believe they actually did get Sean and Chris to record at the same time. Like, they were in the booth together.
I think it was Brian during the Buu saga, not Chris.
Oh, okay. Christopher Sabat anyway, but still, regardless. I think maybe that could have helped because, again, then it would have actually made audio mixing it much better instead of just having, okay, Lenny comes in first, and then we have Michael, and Michael essentially has to do Goku over Vegeta instead of maybe just having them both do the lines together.
I think the problem you face with that, though, is that because we do VO from home now, that might be a little tough. Probably not impossible, but tough. I don't know. I don't know the first thing that goes into that, though. So I'm just speaking off of what I assume.
Okay.
But anyways, and yeah, Dragon Dance. If this was a ranking of soundtracks, I don't know if I'd say this would be my number one, but the fact that I have to think about that is kind of interesting.
Definitely top 3 for me.
Yeah, it's like how many times this season have I said, yeah, this track is my favorite track in death metal history, and now we have another one that's right up there.
Yeah.
Ironically, I think not ironically. Funny enough, most of them are pretty godly because they involve Brandon getting other people to come in.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, you just get Victor Borba of all people. Like, okay, that came out of nowhere. But then the track actually finally came out on its own, and I will admit, at first, I liked it, but I was like, okay, this is a neat track. And then the more I kept listening to it, the more I find myself singing along with it, like on instinct. Like that, the sample I'm going to play is the chorus. And whenever they hit that, I'm just like, I'm like, I have to sing along, otherwise it's gonna feel weird.
Yep.
Plus the references in the lyrics to Goku and Vegeta's past fights.
Well, not only that, but also Dragon Ball as a whole. We mentioned the chanting. We mentioned the chanting last time. I viewed it as an Ikari reference. Turns out, no. This just goes to show how much of a Dragon Ball fan I am. That's an OG Dragon Ball intro chant. The Chala Head Chala. Yeah, I was like, that's a reference to the original Dragon Ball. I'm like, oh, okay, well then. Yeah, and also, the references to their previous episode tracks. It was neat. And yeah, I also think that the reactions I've seen on this are wild because you get a mix of like people who are like, yeah, I'm super into this. This is a really cool fight, and then other people that are super judgmental of it for no reason. It's like this is I understand it's a Dragon Ball community. Dragon Ball community.
Bipolar.
Dragon Ball community watching Death Battle is always going to be a recipe for disaster. It's like when I think that the biggest moments are like the Stardust Breaker, as Richard mentioned. It's like, why would he use that? I'm like, well, because it's probably his most powerful technique, and like, yeah, it works great on Evil, but it also worked pretty well on Broly, and he's not evil, so.
Yeah, it's not as if the Stardust Breaker is incapable of hurting somebody. It can actually hurt non-evil people, it just doesn't kill them.
Yeah, I mean, judging off the battle damage that Vegito had at the end of the fight, I'd say it was pretty effective. And also just like, people are like, how do you turn to stone? And I'm like, this is the Dragon Ball community watching this? It's like, I kind of figured that people would recognize that that's a reference to Majin Vegeta, what happened during the final explosion in his fight with Boo, but I guess not? Like, this community is freaking weird. And I'm like, just do the general back and forth, like, people are like, yeah, go Vegito, and people are like, BS, Gogeta should have won. I'm like, great. Here we go. But also little details I don't think people would notice on their first viewing. Mostly at the end. It's like you see like right before the Dragon Fist that Vegito activates Kaioken. Just to power up, just to get that final push in. But also this, I might be mistaken on this, but it kind of looks like Gogeta goes blue evolved as well. It's like you could see the glow in his hair, especially. They just kind of gave me blue evolved vibe.
Yeah, no, because I saw somewhere that not only, because I pointed this out in our discussion, and not many people have been pointing it out, but it's understandable, it's a quick shot. You actually see Vegito use blue Kaioken to boost the Kamehameha, and for the briefest of second, you actually do see blue evolved Gogeta with the Dragon Fist.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that could have been more better emphasized. Like, maybe have Vegito shout Kaioken, and then just he turns Kaioken, and then Gogeta just powers up to blue evolved.
Maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't want to ruin the throats of these two voice actors even more. So,
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've said this before, but Dragon Ball have a Dragon Ball have a bad match, have a bad episode challenge. At this point, it's impossible.
Gosh.
And believe me, if this is and friendly reminder, this is the first of 3 Dragon Ball fights that we're talking about this season. Bear that in mind. Okay, John, you want to add anything to this?
I don't know how to put this in a way that makes it sound like that won't make it sound like Death Battle has like a chain around my neck, but I'm not really supposed to talk about this fight all too much.
Oh, really?
But all I can say is, for those complaining about the whole turn to stone thing, to throw them a bone. The main reason why Vegeta turned to stone, because he expelled all of his energy. And if Gogeta expelled all of his energy, he would just reverted back into Goku and Vegeta, because that's how the fusion works. So I think that's what's really confusing them. But in actuality, he didn't turn to stone. He was annihilated and turned to dust. and that
Mhm.
dust was then
Yeah.
distributed once the fist bump happened. So he wasn't really turned to stone. It's completely different from what actually happened. He was still, his timing was still on. People mistake the Kamehameha as a standard Kamehameha. It's something called the God Kamehameha. That's what they had in the script. And the God Kamehameha attacks you at an atomic level, which is what was happening.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I understand the confusion because it looks just like a regular Kamehameha, and I admire people finding the fact that he does go Kaioken to give him that extra energy, and for clarification, having him yell out Kaioken would have been better. But I like it as a little. This is his desperation move. He doesn't have time to yell out the move because he's about to die. So all in all, when it comes to anything, but when it comes to anything else I can talk about, all I can say is. We did our damnedest for the time that we were given, and boy, howdy, we wouldn't have delayed it if we didn't care.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 100%.
And it shows.
Mm-hmm. And I understand people not liking the fact that it's essentially a same universe matchup, banding two action figures together. But sometimes you gotta take a step back, come into office, and say, guys, you want to just have fun this time?
Yeah.
Just want to just make something to just have fun with it. We don't have to really talk about like the grand statistics or something. They just want to have this fun thing. It's like, yeah. And I get that sometimes there's like other versus battle shows out there that kind of do that. Like I think it's like what was it called, Salt battles.
Oh yeah, Salt to Salt.
Yeah, Salt to Salt. Where it's literally just we're really just having fun. We don't really care who wins. We're just doing it for the sake of being salty. Like yeah, it's just you having fun. But apparently, Death Battle is not allowed to do that. I don't get that.
Apparently
I don't
not.
get that mentality. Yeah, I don't get that.
It's made.
Well, again, that goes back to what makes me and Brobuscus so distant from this community is the Dragon Ball community. They take versus fights too seriously.
Yeah,
and
I understand that too. I only understand that to like a very middling degree. It's like if we're falsifying information, let's say like we say Goku's Super Saiyan form is 25 times his base. It's like clearly that's incorrect, and you have all the right to say we're incorrect about that. But if we're doing our best to interpret things in the best way that we can, because in aspects, all versus battles does have a layer of how far are you willing to take interpretations of certain feats. You're never gonna get everybody agreeing on the exact same thing in the exact same way. You could say, yeah, this character wins, but I believe this character wins way better than what you say he does. And at that point, I'm like, he still won though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I understand. It is a passionate community, sometimes too passionate. But if your enjoyment of the product is hell bent on the research put into it, then that's you. As for someone like me who just draws and tries to have fun and try to make it as bombastic and humiliating all over the place as possible, I just want to give a good product in forms of the animation. So as far as I can go with it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know how far I can talk about this without getting in trouble.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's whatever. Well, I imagine you'd have quite a bit to say about this next one, though. All right. Number 7. With 23 points. Cue the music. It's Excalibur versus Raiden.
Pleasantly surprised how far up this one is.
The rules of nature.
Indeed. Okay, trying to remember who had this at the lowest.
I believe that was
like
me.
ZDogg. Yep.
I guess that's me. Yeah, before.
Yep. ZDogg at 11. Richard at 9, and myself at 3.
Ooh.
Interesting. Which is
kind of interesting, given my past discussion on this fight, but I'll let ZDogg kick us off.
All right, so I'm just gonna say this is easily better than the Boys Battle Royale when it comes to a bonus episode. I think we could all agree on that pretty well. All right, so honestly, I don't know. I mean, I think what carries this actually is more the analysis than the fight. I'm sorry, John. Like, I don't know why. I just really like the style of analysis they decided to go for here with, just being like a casual conversation and then it escalating to it becoming like, oh, yeah, no, this character would kick the other's ass. And, like, I don't know. I just really like the debate they have, that whole section. It's just a lot of fun. I kind of wish they would do this in more episodes, honestly. Maybe not, like, official episodes, but, like, more bonus episodes. This concept that we see come back. I enjoyed hearing them cover Warframe, and recovering Metal Gear was neat to see.
Definitely need more Metal Gear on this show.
Yeah, we really do. Yeah, I don't know. I just really like the analysis, and the fight, pretty solid. Surprised Devil Artemis did this by himself, if I recall correctly. Like, gosh. Fight was really fun. Very action-packed, adrenaline-based. A lot of cool moments. Really like Raiden's voice actor. Murnau did a really good job. Metal Lotus is pretty solid track. Yeah, I don't know. Just very solid overall. Really like it. Really good for a bonus episode. And hope more bonus episodes are like this compared to the 7 Royale. But, yeah.
Okay. I know absolutely jack all about Warframe. I have played it. I did play it for a while, a couple years ago, but I never got fully invested into it. But obviously, I do love Raiden. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance was one of my first Metal Gear games that I played, and the fact that it started with the spin-off it says a lot, because I actually now do own Metal Gear Solid 4, and I really need to continue playing it. But regardless, I love this bonus episode. I actually think this is, as ZDogg put it, this is one of the better bonus episodes we've gotten, and it very much felt like it wasn't just because the episode can be viewed as to outside people's perspective as, oh, so you literally were just paid to do this. There was no passion put into it. It's just a product placement episode. I can see how they would think that, but really once you get into this episode, they do show you, and they do give off a good impression that, no, it's not just a soulless product placement to promote something. That just comes with the territory. But what I really do like about this episode is how it does a good job of diving into Warframe itself, because Warframe is front and center, and they do have a natural way, analysis-wise, of explaining it. Like, Wiz and Boomstick aren't just telling us, the audience, about these characters, they're just going back and forth about the characters. It's a debate between them, and I also love that it just starts off as a debate. It's their off day, and they're just debating with each other, as, people do. And I really love the animation. Devil Artemis is a fucking madman for taking this on by himself, but I'm so happy that he was able to pull it off. I can tell he had a lot of fun with it. There were so many callbacks and references to Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. There are some great usage of Excalibur's weapons being thrown in there, and the added benefit of Wiz and Boomstick interacting with the combatants is so cool. Yeah, I love how they incorporated that. It didn't feel forced. It did feel natural. And it's just, I think the best way to sum up this episode for me, which also maybe its biggest flaw in my opinion, is it's just a shitload of adrenaline. It is so hype. It gets going. It doesn't stop. And it has its build-up, and it does a good job of getting you hooked. And that's what I think it did for me. But then I have to ask myself, how does it stack up to Raiden versus Wolverine? And I went back and I rewatched it, and then I was like, oh, well, thanks a lot, Torian. You ruined this animation for me by being so damn good at the past one. But no, I still love this episode, regardless of the fact that it doesn't have much breathing room. It's just all action, and it doesn't apologize for that. Plus, the ending, I kind of feel like could have been maybe a little better. It is kind of sad that Raiden just goes out with a simple sword strike, but I do get why. I'm not complaining on how it happened. I'm just saying I'm kind of disappointed with how they chose to take Raiden out. but nevertheless, this episode it's so fun. If you love Metal Gear, then you will love this episode because it goes hard. But I have seen complaints and controversy, not surprising, from the Warframe community, who have said, yeah, no, this BS, Raiden would win. They didn't do this right, they didn't do that right, they just speculated here and there.
I'm sorry, wait, hold on.
Wait, from the Warframe community?
Actual Warframe fans think that he should lose? They're not actually Warframe. they're either not actually Warframe fans, or they only played a few of the game and are not currently caught up with the current lore that happened. Because we just got through fighting a guy who literally used the power of a star to try to kill us. I don't know about you. I don't care how strong Raiden is. I love him to death, but he's not star level.
Exactly.
Is that
exactly? Yeah. No. So. It's like, I don't get that either, but it's like, look, man, this episode still kicks ass. I don't care. I had fun with it. Can we just have fucking fun? Jesus.
No, we can't.
Not. This is the death box.
Well, is that a good segue for me to jump in? Cause
yeah, I guess. I'm sorry. I put you in an awkward segue.
Oh boy. So I know, Mike. It probably comes as a bit of a shock to everybody that I'm the one that has this as high as he does, because so I have nothing against Warframe. I played it a little bit after this episode came out, and it was fun, but it just I just never really jumped back into it. It was kind of like a one play session thing, and I was just kind of done. Who knows? Maybe in the future. However. Metal Gear Rising is in contention with as one of my favorite games of all time. And Raiden is one of my favorite characters of all time. Easily my favorite Metal Gear character. Step aside Solid Snake. I still love the guy though. So when I saw this episode get announced, I was in panic, essentially. Not knowing a lot about Warframe, and kind of jumping in like, oh, it's another Raiden episode. I'm like, oh gosh, please tell me he wins this. And I mean, you probably saw my reaction that I did. My heart sank when I saw Raiden lose. It's like I caught his body being cut in half just before it exploded, and I was like, oh. It's like I don't think I felt that much of a heart sink in a very, very long time watching Death Battle. So when we first discussed this, I was still in I don't want to say like, I don't know, like I was still kind of upset. I agreed with Raiden losing. I was just kind of like, but I wanted him to win though. It's like seeing it's just a typical thing. Seeing your favorite characters lose suck. It just sucks. But I'd say enough time has passed for me to like really like I've accepted it. I've lived with it. I can understand that it just happens, you know, like it's, you know, Raiden might be one of my favorite characters of all time, but he's going up against a Warframe. Warframes are ridiculous. So I was like, okay, I get it. I understand it. So I walked into this episode thinking, okay, I can now sit through this and think and just accept the fight for what it is. It just have a ball with it, because you know what? This is a solid episode. Yes, my heart still sinks watching it, but that's besides the point. The analysis, like ZDogg said, is very interesting, very fun to go into. The fight is fantastic. I honestly like. I might be hitting you guys with some blasphemy here. I actually don't know whether or not I prefer this over Wolverine versus Raiden. It's like I actually don't know which one of these two I prefer. Like even though Raiden won one of them and he didn't the other one, but I digress. Because like as a big fan of Metal Gear Rising, the fight felt it definitely felt like something I would see in Metal Gear Rising. And from what little I saw of Warframe in the episode, I can say that's probably the case for that too. The models look great. Mornal as Raiden was fantastic. I honestly like him more than Tin Page. The Metal Lotus is phenomenal. Like genuinely one of my favorite tracks in Death Metal history, and it comes from a bonus episode, which is insane to me. I really don't know what I can say about this fight other than this is amazing. I as a big fan of Metal Gear Rising, as someone who's devastated to see him lose, I genuinely might have had just as much, if not more, fun here than I did with Raiden versus Wolverine. And I'm almost positive I'm the only person who feels that way, but
deal with it.
Deal with it. But yeah, I love this episode. It breaks my heart, but it's fantastic.
All right.
So, John, as the Warframe fan amongst us,
Okay, so look, there's a lot of things to complain about pretty much any Death Battle episode. There's a lot of things to complain about literally anything in media that ever comes out. If there's one thing to complain about Warframe wise, would be like small tidbit things about the loadout or something along those lines. But I never actually thought that there would be people who didn't agree with the outcome in the Warframe side. That's still skeeving me. But all in all, with the fact that I think it's okay to say this, the fact that I was pretty much the main person that the director came to for information and, hey, if we're doing something wrong, please change it. they care about representing things, and they understand that if they're not fans of something, they're gonna be like, we're gonna try to put some soul into it. And what's the best way to put soul into it? Someone who actually likes the series. So they came to me for a lot of information, like gathering or how a certain thing would occur. I did a thing for Twitter about the meme.
I saw this.
Yeah, and one of the things I saw about that they're like, man, I wish this would happen in a fight. And one person was like, oh man, they in a fight, wouldn't that be disrespectful to Raiden? It's like, you do know the last person Raiden did this to, he beat, right?
Yeah.
People only know like the first 5 seconds of the meme of him punching him, but in the end, Raiden won the fight. So if we did it and still showcase, like say this for instance, in Warframe, you have the operator that controls the Warframe's body, and the operator can come out of the body, making it so the Warframe just sort of stands there, literally cannot move because it doesn't have the operator in the body. They wanted to make the ending where the operator gets out of the body and uses the Warframe as like just a stand-in, thinking that he's still in there, and just punching it like that. And at the very end, he does destroy it, just like how he pushes Armstrong back at the end of it all, being like he thinks he did it, but then the operator kills him either with his own sword or with a beam weapon that took care of his sword in general. They could have done something like that, but I understand time was of the essence and stuff, and I think the ending of how they did was definitely something they could have definitely were going with. But all in all, there was a lot of stuff in this fight that I would have changed as a Warframe fan. But as a Warframe fan, I liked what they did. And I have another Warframe fan living with me, and he said he liked it. The fact that we never thought we'd ever get a Warframe fight is the main reason why we like it. Because Warframe is such the definition of player-created character that we never thought that it could be done right. You know? You ever had a character that is so hell-bent on how the player makes it that it's almost impossible to actually use them because you don't know what a base standing up that thing would be? So
Yeah,
I think we'll get a pretty good understanding of that.
Yeah. So this fight overall, I was really happy to do. I'm happy to actually be considered more accessible to it, other than just being the guy to do the storyboards. I also had help with the boards from another board artist named Al. He did, I would say, half a page while I did the rest. Show the difference in speed of how we do our things, but his is more detailed. So, in a sense, if you look at the boards themselves, you will definitely see the jump or see downgrade in quality. I love his work. Oh no, yeah, no, I love this fight. There's really nothing more I can say other than I'm happy that we did our best with what we could do with both these properties, and I will admit I love Raiden more than I like any Warframe, so it did kind of break my heart too,
Oh, really?
having to kill him.
That's actually kind of a little surprising to hear. Well, I mean, on the plus side, at least for me, we have a fight coming up later in this list that kind of makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Well,
I know what that one is.
yeah. We will cross that bridge when we get to it. But first, we have more of my favorite characters losing. All right, moving on.
Boy. Oh boy.
Getting close to the top 5.
Yep. And this one just couldn't make it.
Oh no.
It's like, okay. Well, though, I will admit this one did get higher than it would on any other list. So, number 6 with 22 points. Cue the montage. James Bond versus John Wick.
So
most
close.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this got higher on our list than I've seen other people's list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this was number 10 on ZDogg's, number 8 on Richard's, and number 4 on mine.
Oh wow.
I'm a little bit of a fan of this one, but ZDogg, why don't you start us off?
Alright, well, I'm honestly a bit of a fan of it too, even though I have it ranked pretty low. Well, first of all, I just really like both analyses going into the whole backstory of all the bonds. Neat. I really like all of it. Going into the in-depth history and them name-dropping all the Bond titles was great. A great on-running gag. Wix just made me feel bad for him. Like, gosh, poor man. And, just fun. Fun analysis all around. The pen clicking gag got me. Just, oh, it happened once. Nope. Oh, it's going to happen this time. Nope. And then it only happens during the conclusion. And then fight wise, I mean, yeah, first part of it doesn't look the best, but like, yeah. Sorry, hold on. Okay, yeah. First part of it doesn't look the best, but like, it's still an entertaining watch overall. I like it. Bond is a very entertaining character. I like what they did with him script wise. Very funny, and then I don't know, just fight overall was very solid. I really like what they did with it, especially with the car. The second half of it in the bar, I really like it. Especially with Aston Martin getting involved, makes it a lot more chaotic. I don't know, just overall, I don't really have much to complain with it. Yeah, I just really like it. So, yeah.
All right. Richard, you still here? Good talk. All right. I guess I'll go next.
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. This when you have to take food and put it in the trash, you gotta do it, okay?
Okay, that's fine. Good thing you stopped me.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I agree with ZDogg, and I'm just gonna say it right now. This is probably the most underrated 3D fight. Well, one of the most. There were two other ones that would classify, but I feel like this is very underrated. It does a good job of what it sets out to do. I do like the analysis. It does paint a good contrast between the two. One is a fucking Chad super spy who basically has gadgets and gets all the fucking girls, even under questionable circumstances. And you have another. Yeah. Just remember, Sean Connery's James Bond was a fucking monster. And then you have, juxtaposed to that, you have John Wick, who is a very tragic character who wanted to be left alone. Like, that's his story. He wanted to grieve. He wanted to start his life anew, grieving. And then all of that was taken away from him, and he came out of retirement, and he just fucked shit up. His character is by far the most enjoyable part of this episode. Not to say Bond's isn't. I do like Bond. I grew up with Pierce Brosnan Bond. Well, specifically, the other bad movies he was in. I didn't see GoldenEye until much later. And then Daniel Craig Bond. But I really love John Wick as a character. He's just much more relatable, and he's much more awesome. Because again, killed somebody with the pencil.
You can't go wrong with that.
No, exactly. And the animation, yes, it is janky. That first couple of seconds are janky, but if you can look past the jank, which some people rarely do, it's probably got the best choreography the Blender team has done. Like, this fight's choreography goes hard. You see it also implement Bond's gadgets. I love it. I love that it's a battle of gadgets versus brawn. And we also get some great character building too, like, and lore. Like, Bond is tasked to take down Baba Yaga, and John knows of MI6, and that's cool. And of course, the centerpiece that makes the third act kick ass is the Aston Martin coming in and just going deja vu and just spinning around, shooting around, and now you have the characters having to just fight each other while also avoiding being shot at by a rotating car. That is fucking awesome. And Brobuscus did bring up that this is the one thing, and I know a lot of people were upset, no surprise, that this episode was not live action. They were demanding it would be live action. But realistically, think about it. How the fuck could they have pulled this in live action unless they had no choice but to CGI the damn car, and it just wouldn't have been as good. And also the death, yeah, it is kind of anticlimactic that, oh yeah, John just gets killed by a falling chandelier, but I like the build-up to it, where Bond does the classic shoot the bullet through the hole, but instead it's through Wick, and he just powers through it until he's pretty much out of breath, and, you know, he dies. And I do like the end where the last thing we center on for Wick is his phone flickering a picture of his wife. That was good. My only complaints with it is there is a moment at the beginning where John is just letting Bond talk while he's smoking a normal cigarette, and he doesn't just kill him right then and there. That's my only nitpick with the fight. I don't agree with other people who say, oh, well, why did Wick's body armor just now give out? I thought it's bulletproof, so what makes the bullets that go through him any different? Isn't he supposed to tank it? It's like, just because it's bulletproof doesn't mean, you know, again, those bullets are still going to hurt. I don't know, maybe he was using super bullets? I don't know.
Well, it was Bond's, like, you know, hits like a bullet, like, fired like a bullet, hit like a shotgun.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, then there you go. But, yeah, other than that, I love this fight. Stephen Kelly as Bond is so great. He embodies all of the Bonds. Ironically, though, it's coming out of the Daniel Craig model, but still, he brings that charm, that wit perfectly, and then Mono as John Wick pulls a complete character range 180 himself, because holy shit, he sounds not identical, but he sounds pretty close to Keanu Reeves. Like, he nails the inflictions, the mannerisms. He's got that all down. Like, even that last line he says before the chandelier kills him, like, just, yeah. And then boom, dead. It's like, that was so sad. So, yeah, I love this fight. It's, up until a certain fight comes up on this list, it was my personal favorite 3D fight of the season, which is weird, I know. I prefer the jankiest of episodes to the not janky episode that was Harley vs. Jinx, but it's just preference.
That's what happens.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay, give me 1 second. I need to change some stuff here because my headphones are just about dead. Uh-oh.
I get a refund.
There we go.
Okay, cool.
I doubt they were able to hear that. Just to note, my headphones are just about dead, so I had to turn them off. So if
I heard you.
If for the video's sake, if things sound a little different, if there's like an echo going on, there's nothing really I can do about that. So, okay. So for me, so this is a bit of an interesting case because, so I said on a podcast that I wanted to get into as many of the new franchises as possible for this season, because, you know, they kind of prided themselves this season on having a lot of new franchises. So I was like, well, I'm going to use this opportunity to get into more new stuff. So for this, I had already seen the first John Wick, but I went and rewatched it just for the sake of it, and I also watched the second and third ones for the first time, while also watching as many of the Bond movies as I could. I didn't get through a lot, but I wanted to be very prepared for this one because I grew to really like. I already liked John Wick, but I grew to really like him as a character going. Just the further and further the waiting period for this episode went by, and the more I got into it, the more I just found myself engaged in what could happen. So much so that I even, like, when I saw this announced at RTX, I was like, huh, you know what? My parents know, like, they don't watch Death Battle, but they know I have stuff worked on as like a fan. And I was like, this would probably be something they'd be pretty into. So I told them about it. Once news was more public, I showed them the reveal that they played on Fireside, and I got the reaction I was expecting. They were both super into it. And
well, that's actually, funny thing about that I didn't get to mention. I had a similar reaction with my dad, because I automatically mention the show from time to time, but he was super into both series. I didn't show him the trailer. I just said, hey, you're familiar with James Bond, right? And John Wick. How would you feel if they fight? And he was intrigued, and so I did show him it, and that made me happy that I got to experience the show with him and my mom, who was also there. But she isn't as big as either. But oh well.
But yeah, and then actually watching it, I agree. The analysis is great. Learning more about these characters, at least the stuff that I didn't already know. I kind of like re-listen. Something fell off my desk. I just kind of like going through their stories again, especially Wick, because like ZDogg said, poor guy. But it also did kind of make me more sad because I was in this I went into this rooting hard for Wick, and remembering again that Wick's life sucks really, really, really badly. I was kind of like, oh, and now I kind of hope he wins more, and then he just doesn't. And I knew like there wasn't much of a shot he had. But the fight, I agree. The beginning is jank, whatever. Like, I honestly don't care that much. Especially when the rest of it surrounding it is really good, and basically the second half, well, actually more so after the cigarette. I think that's when it really kicked off. And I agree, the Aston Martin was great. Both voice actors did a great job. I love the music a lot. I think the music is really underrated. And what was I going to say? Oh, I'm gonna defend the cigarette scene just a little bit. It's like Wick's kind of. I said this to my mom because I showed my mom this episode. I'll get to that later. It's like going for the cigarette scene. I was like, well, for one, rule of cool. It's like, kind of just like let that happen. It's whatever. The fights are meant for entertainment purposes, nothing more. But also, I kind of would believe that Wick would be the kind of guy to let someone have their one last smoke.
Disagree, but go on.
You only watched the first movie, huh?
No, I watched all three.
Tell that to the guy who put a bullet in who was having his last meeting.
Fair enough. I don't know.
Just say you liked the moment. Jeez, there's no shame in it.
Like getting the rule is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But this dude has literally walked inside of a building filled with nothing but 35 people, and he headshot all of them without them giving a single crap.
Yes.
If you're trying to kill him, he's just gonna kill you.
Yes.
Well, also, like, he's not gonna know. Like, what? Like, Bond's just sitting there, smoking. Like, what's he gonna think? It's like, oh, I'm still, like, he's still like on guard. Like, he's still got a gun pointed at him.
Yes, but he would shoot him.
That's just it. If he has a gun pointed at him, kill him.
Yeah,
like it's one thing to shoot at him and then he's taking. exchange where he's out of sight, but have him just wide open, and the only excuse is that he's giving him his last thing. It's kind of like, okay, rule of cool is the only thing keeping me from saying that it's out of character.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Agree to disagree, I guess. But yeah, I'll also defend the death. Like, it's kind of amazing to me that, like for someone like John Wick, because, like, this guy got riddled with bullets just a few seconds earlier and he didn't go down. What took him down was a freaking chandelier being dropped on him. I was like, I don't know about you, that's kind of hardcore.
That is hardcore.
It's like when a flurry of bullets, I guess I shouldn't say flurry, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, when you're chock full of bullets.
Yeah, when that doesn't take you down, but a chandelier does. I don't know. I just think that's hardcore. And also, yeah, focusing on John's phone with the picture of him and his wife on it as the phone dies. It kind of like
symbolism.
Yeah, it kind of tug at my heart a little bit. Like as a Wick fan, I was like, But I think the major thing about this episode that rates it higher than most of the other episodes is just the fun I had while A, waiting for it, B, watching it, and C, getting to get my family involved. My mom especially, huge Wick fan. And I it took a few weeks, but I finally like sat her down and was like, "Hey, do you want to watch Bond versus Wick now that it's finally out?" And she was like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And we watched it, and she had a great time. She loved it. She did have a few things. She also she didn't care that much about the smoke scene, but you know, she had similar things to say that you guys did. She also wasn't sure about the faster quick draw thing at first, but then they were like, then when they got to because they had that in the advantages and disadvantages thing. She saw that and she's like, I don't know how to feel about that. They got to it, they addressed it verbally, and she was like, oh, okay, fair enough. But she knew that, like, if anything, it was going to be the gadgets that gave Bond the win, and sure enough.
Look at that.
But yeah, it was just like watching these movies during the lead up was really fun, even if some of those movies aren't very good. I'm looking at you, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Actually watching it and getting, like, it's so fun knowing all these references. It's like getting all these references on first go. That's really fun. And you know, the fight was really good, and then showing it to my mom a few weeks later, and she really liked it. It kind of elevates it a little bit for me.
Absolutely fair, honestly.
So a lot of it is personal investment.
Sure.
For me. In fact, honestly, this is probably, like, as far as like pure bias is concerned, like as far as like investment in the matchup is concerned, this probably would be my number one. You know, as long as you know, the fight could have been better, I'll admit, but I also still really like it, so it's whatever. I will say the like, as far as like the choreography is concerned, the knife fight is fantastic.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, I really like the knife fight, but yeah. I agree with Richard. Very underrated episode. One that does not get the credit I think it deserves. Yeah. A lot of that could be just my own personal investment, but I also don't care. So, so yeah. John, do you wanna? Is there any input you wanted to put in?
No, not really. Not for this one. When we're getting into the actual good fights, that just means little to no issues were actually put in place, and things are just falling right where they need it to be. This fight is special to me because I love John Wick. I don't know much about James Bond, mostly because I never really got into any of his movies, even the newer ones that came out. And Keanu Reeves has been my favorite actor since The Matrix, so there was that.
Yeah.
And just being able to have a more grounded fight in my myriad of anime guys blowing up mountains and stuff, it definitely was a nice change of pace. There was a few things I wanted to point out. The situation revolving around the bullets working, quote unquote, at the end of the fight. In the script and how it's portrayed in the boards, and I'm not sure how it is in the fight itself, is that James specifically targets the weaker portion of his body armor, that being the interior of the white of his suit, which is a lot weaker. It's kind of like the whole thing with Batman, where his bullet resistance is mostly around his chest, where the symbol is, but for Wick, it's around the area where it isn't black. And the bullets, there was supposed to be a scene where they do a slow motion shot, and you have an interior view, and you see that the bullets, when hitting Wick, go inside of his body and then shoot out like a shotgun, pretty much rupturing all of his organs. So for anyone saying that he should have gotten up from the car, you try having your entire body, bones, and your interior structure just ripped to shreds by small shrapnels, and see how you get up from that.
Well, not even just that, but getting shot in general.
Yeah, just in general.
Getting
it's like if you need any more reason why he's staying down other than the fact that he got shot, how about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. John has showcased that he has a high pain tolerance, but pain tolerance isn't immunity. He
I can only go so far.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I'm good.
All right. So now we're in the top 5.
Oh boy. I've been looking forward to this. I'm really nervous.
I'm actually quite confused.
Oh, you should be nervous, Richard, because next one you're starting us up.
Oh shit.
All right. Number 5 with 18 points. Cue the montage. Thor versus Vegeta.
Wow. Okay.
Oh boy.
So Richard had this at number 10. ZDogg had this at number 6. I had this at number 2.
Damn. Oh my god.
So Richard, you looks like you've got some splaining to do.
Okay. Alright. Look, at least I put it in the top 10, alright? It made the top 10. And originally, it was higher than 10, so... Actually, no, wait. Originally, it was lower. Never mind.
Okay, I was about to say, I don't think that makes you sound any better.
Yeah, no, but anyway, okay. So, look, I do not hate this fight. I do not hate this fight. It is just a matter of, okay, look, the other Dragon Ball fight that I know is on this list, I liked it better, but really, at the time, it was just okay.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything, but yeah.
At the time, I was just like, okay, I just saw this fight. Okay, it's funny. it's kind of a similar case of what Brobuscus had for Harley versus Jinx. It just wore off. It was just adrenaline. That's it. I just saw this as an entertaining fight. I didn't see it as anything to personally get myself invested in, and I've made it quite clear on numerous occasions in our past recordings that there were other episodes that I felt were better than this one.
Oh, yes, you've made it very clear.
Yes. So, okay. Analysis. Okay. It is nice to see Vegeta back for the first time in over 12 years. I love that they do give his analysis a complete 100% revamp. I even love the age joke. He's 68, and then so close.
No.
I forgot about that.
So yeah, I love how they incorporate Z and Super. I was kind of hoping they wouldn't use Ultra Ego because, again, we don't know anything about Ultra Ego, but I do appreciate that they made some guesses on how it works. And until Toriyama or Toyotaro say otherwise, we can just assume that, yeah, that's how Ultra Ego operates. And it was just cool how they talked about his character, because Vegeta is one of my favorite Dragon Ball characters. I put him above Goku. Just because he starts off as a villain, and then he becomes an anti-hero, and thanks to Super, he's pretty much just a hero with a brooding attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I do also love Thor's analysis. Well, love is a strong word. I like it more than how it's been in the past. It did kind of feel like they were just repeating the same thing. Nothing new to be added, but it was still cool seeing Thor back and done much better this time around than the last time. But yeah. And then the animation, and this is where my criticisms really come into play. I just personally think the fight is way too fast. It's not even a so fast, it's not even a so fast, it's a fun ride like Raiden versus Excalibur, because that actually did have a justifiable reason to be as fast as it did, because again, that's kind of the point of Metal Gear Rising. But for this, because it's a Dragon Ball fight, we just have to do it fast. I do not like the opening setup. I don't like how Vegeta just starts off in base for a couple of seconds, then blue, then barely takes any hits, and then all of a sudden he's Ego. Like, we just sped through these transformations in less than a minute, and it didn't feel earned to me. Excuse me. It was obvious that Thor was going to win because he was taking a lot of punishment, so there really was no stakes in that. And yeah, that's about it. Those are legit my only. Last negative is I don't like how they just had Liam, because Liam wrote this, I believe, right? Brobuscus?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like Liam's personal choice to have Vegeta mostly talk in his existing quotes, very much like Kakashi versus Obi-Wan. It worked for Kenobi, but I don't think it works for Vegeta. I very much wanted to hear more banter between these two, because again, their egos are pretty much, the size of a solar system. They could have some legit good banter. But other than that, yeah, that's it. Everything else I loved. This animation goes hard. When it goes fast, it goes fast. And the ending where you see the hand-drawn shots, beautiful. And then the ending with the God Blast, or I don't even think that's the God Blast because he didn't use it. I'll just say standard Lightning Blast. The Lightning Blast versus the Final Flash, composed of Ki energy and Hakai energy. That was awesome. And then that fake out was even more awesome. And oh my god, I don't even think I need to mention how epic that fucking kill is. Like, it's very good. It's very well done. I feel that impact. And Billy and your only mate brought this up. If you actually pause it at certain frames, you can see every little detail of that kill. Like, you see Vegeta's eyes popping out of their sockets. You see his spine come out. That was some hardcore detail for that shot. And it was cool to see both voice actors make their respective returns to these characters. I will never not say no to Lenny as Vegeta. And then finally, Princess of Pride, one of the best tracks of season 9. Like, no debate here. Like, it was awesome. So, yeah, in short, this episode isn't bad. It's just a case of it's style over substance, and I very much would have appreciated if it had more substance to it. So, yeah, that's it.
All right, so that is my turn then. I mean, I'll be honest, part of me was actually kind of expecting and wanting this to rank a little higher than it did. And, like, I still do enjoy the episode a whole lot. Oh my gosh. But, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy with its placement, obviously, but, like, I was kind of expecting to rank it a few spots higher. I mean, I know the fight is, like, I mean, what Richard said is, like, it's just adrenaline, but I don't care. It's cool. It looks cool. It's fast-paced. I really like it. Yeah, the pacing could have been a little better, and we could have had a few more a few more pieces of original dialogue, but whatever. I don't know. I just really like it overall. The analyses are really fun, especially with Vegeta, not seeing him since season 1. Fun to hear what he's gone over. And honestly, I think what boosts this up a lot for me, not that the fight itself, like, there's a lot of cool moments in the fight itself, especially and a lot of funny moments, like Vegeta catching Mjolnir and then laughing. That was great. But honestly, I think what boosts this up even higher to me is the climax. Genuinely, I think my favorite climax this season, if not this, then the other Dragon Ball fight we haven't talked about. I'm just putting that out there, because just the build up to the final Flash versus God Blast, and I do think that was supposed to be the God Blast.
Okay, if it was, then awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Just the build up to that, and then the fake out with Vegeta landing, screaming his lungs out in Final Flash,
Yes.
but then it was faked out to not be that, to show he survived, and just the death as well. Honestly, this, like I said, probably tied for Black Adam from my second favorite one of the season, because just it's so brutal, and I love it. Just, it's so visually cool, visually spectacular. Hand-drawn stuff is amazing. I love it. And then the death is so brutal. And
that final frame is awesome.
Like, oh my gosh, so raw. And also, I will back this up. Princess of Pride is freaking amazing. Maybe a little repetitive when it comes to the lyrics, but I don't care. It sounds amazing. Sounds very blood pumping. Very good for this match. And I can't stop listening to it. It's so good. But yeah, overall, very solid episode. Very solid episode. Part of me wishes it could rank higher, but I am very happy where it's ranked. And yeah.
Look, I'm sorry, okay? It made the top 5.
I'm not. If you're not blaming me for Omni-Man and Homelander, I'm not blaming you for this. Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
Tell me, does a god such as yourself feel fear?
Alright, let's jump into this. So, I really like this episode. I don't know if you could tell.
No, really?
No, I couldn't, actually. It couldn't have been so obvious. It's not like it was your number 2.
Okay, so, really, it's mostly the fight. The analysis is fine. It's whatever. It's there. It's fun. It's nice to learn about these two again, because it's been so long since we've seen them. And
Yeah.
things have definitely changed since then, both for the characters and for the show. But the fight is where things really kick off. It's gorgeous. It's fast. The effects are fantastic. Both voice actors are phenomenal. I already liked Jonah Scott in Thor vs. Wonder Woman, but I think he goes above and beyond in this one. Lanny,
Especially that end scream.
yeah, Lanny, arguably best performance as Vegeta, at least that I've heard. I kind of in the middle on Vegeta's dialogue. I would have appreciated maybe a few more like original lines, but at the same time, the lines that they did manage to use, I thought they were used well.
Yeah, and they were also delivered well.
They were also delivered well, yes.
Especially the Oblivion line.
Yeah. I also agree the climax is fantastic. Just the shouts from both of them. Lanny going all out on that final flash. Still honestly one of the best shouts I've heard in a Dragon Ball fight. And honestly, one of the most powerful final flashes I think I've ever heard from anything.
Yes.
Yeah. Honestly. Yeah.
And just the reveal that Thor survived, and just the death. Like, I'm basically mirroring a lot of what ZDogg said, just amping it up a little bit more. Yeah. And I will also agree that Princess of Pride is freaking amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I'll kind of disagree on the pacing. I don't know. The pacing never really bothered me, but I don't know. Like, generally for adrenaline rush fights, it's like I do appreciate it when they go on for as long as they can, but having a short burst of adrenaline, I think that's why I prefer this over Harley vs. Jinx, is because with Harley vs. Jinx, it goes on for it doesn't drag on, I should say, but it is longer. At least it feels longer. With Thor vs. Vegeta, the adrenaline rush it's there and then it's gone, which sounds like a bad thing, but it works for adrenaline. And it kind of helps in that no matter how many times I've rewatched this fight, I still feel a similar level of adrenaline that I do when I watched it for the first time.
Same.
Which is to say, a lot. And I still find myself quoting, saying Vegeta's lines along with Lanny. It's like, my gosh, it's like they did not have to go so hard, but I'm glad they did. Yeah, I have nothing more I can add.
Yeah.
No, if that's the case, the only things I get to say is that, anime boy versus comic boy punching each other really hard, really good doing, yes, good. For Jedi, when it comes to pacing problems, I like to say the main reason why a lot of people, when it comes to these certain Dragon Ball fights, say it's a pacing problem is because someone like Goku and Vegeta, they have so many other transformations. They have one all the way up to their final form. So when you show one go from base to the second to last final form they have, it does feel like the pacing has gone off. But the thing is, if you're looking at the stats, the fight doesn't really start until that fight, the second fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
For you, I think a better thing that could have happened, which is something I actually pitched a bit about in the fight, was something that Dragon Ball Super did in the beginning of the fight. Instead of having Vegeta weirdly push Thor back in his base form and then go into Blue Evolved, how about you show Vegeta try to hurt Thor and it's just doing nothing to him? Then he goes into Super Saiyan and he only slightly damages him, and then he goes to Super Vegeta 2, and then finally goes into Blue Evolve, showing that the other transformations didn't up to the point. It's kind of like what they did in Super with Goku versus Jiren.
Yes.
It was a nicely paced, understandable reason as to why he tries all of his power-ups until the one that actually pushes him back, or something along those lines. When it comes to the God Blast versus the God Final Flash, is what they call it.
Okay.
I saw some reviewers say they don't like the fact that the God Blast was relegated to a spark instead of the world-ending power that it's supposed to have. And to be honest, I had that exact issue, and I think we tried to do something with it, but it will be awkward. Because the whole thing with the God Blast, if we showed it having destruction, let's say we show it destroying the mountain that Vegeta teleported away from, and do like a wide shot of the explosion. And then when we cut back to Thor, we see Vegeta do his final flash, and then we cut out again, but this time to the planet, and then we see his thing. It would then show that, oh, so the God Blast is only mountain level to this planet size thing. So we're trying to do our best here. There was really no winning with that. Yeah. And plus it's the same angle, same positioning, so we had to make a compromise on that point. But as for the fight in of itself, I'm happy that the adrenaline pumping action filled nonsense that this fight was, when it comes to two guys just hitting each other really hard, did come across as good. Because a lot of episodes that we've gone through can be also relegated to that. Like Gogeta versus Vegito is essentially high octane, supposed to be adrenaline filled nonsense. And I'm happy to know that this one did it better, according to you guys.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, nothing more to say when it comes to like transformations and what people feel about Ultra Ego as a transformation and stuff like that. I'm not getting those.
That's fair. Yeah, we shouldn't give the Dragon Ball community any more attention than we already have.
Because according to this list, there's still one more fight that's going to give.
Yes. Oh man, and people are gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
It's our list, damn it! Get off our backs.
Yeah.
You make your own damn list and put these fights at the bottom. Why don't you?
Honestly, at this point, see if we care. Spoiler alert, we don't. Anyways, let's move on. All right, climbing up even more. Number 4. With 15 points. Cue the epic music. Sauron versus the Lich King.
Oh.
So close. So close.
Interesting. Okay.
It's kind of interesting to me that the top 3 are all 2D fights.
Yep. And if I'm not mistaken, does that mean the top 3 all each has one of our number 1s as well?
Yep.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That worked, actually.
This is where
I'm happy.
This is where things get really interesting. Okay, who had this at the lowest? I did. Fun. Number 6 for me, number 5 for ZDogg, and number 4 for Richard. So again, kind of evens out.
Yeah.
Neat. All right. Well, I guess I'm going first. I think you know what's funny is that I watched for the sake of ranking this, I binge watched all of them, and I obviously with this being the episode after Jason vs. Michael, I obviously watched this one next, and it kind of like dawned on me that I kind of have like a bit of an opposite reaction when it comes to those two fights. Whereas with Jason vs. Michael, it's like the analysis hard carries, the fight's just kind of there. For Sauron vs. Lich King, it's kind of the opposite. It's like the fight is phenomenal. I have absolutely nothing against it. The analysis, it's fine, but it doesn't really do it for me. Maybe it's just because I'm not, terribly into either franchise. I tried getting into them, more specifically Lord of the Rings, but it just wasn't clicking with me. So maybe that had a part of it when watching. It was still fine, but the fight, oh my gosh. The fight looks pretty. It's honestly like one of the prettiest fights of the season. The animation as a whole is really well done. It's not fast. In fact, quite the opposite. It's actually pretty slow, but I think it works out with how big and bulky these two kind of are. Both voice actors, especially Ryan Sauron, does fantastic. The music is pretty good. The ending is fun. The fight as a whole is fun. Like it's genuinely like a really fantastic episode. Really fun to watch. Really interesting to dive into. There's a bit of a contrast going on with once Sauron, erupts the volcano. You kind of get like the Lich King's blue ice next to like Sauron's red hot fire. And of course we have the world's biggest and best staring contest. Eat your heart out. Deathstroke versus Captain America. Anyways, yeah, fun stuff all around. I really don't have much to say on this one. It's fun. It's a fun fight.
A ZDogg.
All right. I don't know how much I can add to this, honestly. If I could describe it, well, first of all, I'll say the analysis were fine. Neat learning about them. They were funny. Cutaways were funny, especially Sauron's. Yeah,
yeah.
It was neat learning about them. Actually, my friend, because I also did a rewatch of this list with Kodo just to make sure all my positions were right. Kodo actually compared these analyses to season 2 analyses, and thinking about it, I actually agree with them. And so I think it was nice to get that longer analysis for a new series, as crazy as these ones. As for the fight, the best way I could describe it is long. There's just so much cool moments in there happening all the time. So many cool line deliveries, so many cool lines in general. A freaking amazing and beautiful set piece with the fire and ice. The staring contest. There's all the abilities thrown out. I just really even though I just really like how it turned out, and there's just so many cool moments that I think are just standout moments of the year, just flat out. And yeah, that's about all I can say about it. That's just short and sweet. Just so many cool moments and lead to a really cool episode.
I must say, this episode, if I were to sum it up, I think the best way to describe it is the Blender team's Ganondorf versus Dracula. It is a phenomenal 3D episode. I can tell that they went super, super hard on it. The juxtaposed contrast between fire and ice, literally speaking, was a good idea. I loved the analysis. I do agree with ZDogg and Koto that it does take me back to season 2 with how, for new franchises, they don't just add couch to it and call it a day. No, they actually do a good job of telling the stories of these two characters in a way that Tarok described to us when we discussed this episode back last year. It also was a great opportunity for me to get reacquainted with Sauron, because I have seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy set of films most of all of my life. It's my favorite film trilogy of all time. Second, a close second for the Toy Story trilogy, but that's neither here nor there. I really just, I love this. I love it when I can rewatch one of my favorite set of films, film series, and that bleeds into my overall enjoyment of the fight itself, because there are so many things going on in this animation. Not too much to where it's hard to keep up with, but just so much in terms of sheer spectacle. Brobuscus did hit the nail on the head with, yes, there is jank in this episode, but here it's actually acceptable, and it's intentional, because when you have these two bulky guys in bulky, cumbersome, over-the-top armors, you're not going to be expecting them to do butterfly flips and backflips and what have you. You know, they're not going to be doing ballet moves and getting 10 out of 10s from the judges. No, they're going to fight like they have fucking sheets of metal on them.
Now I want to see Sauron compete in the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's just created a very funny mental image in my head.
Hey, I would give him a 10 out of 10, even if Lich King killed me. I don't care. It was worth it. See Sauron do that twirl. Majestic. I really loved the effects work. I think that's what also backs up my statement about it being similar to Ganondorf versus Dracula. The effects work going on at play here are so fucking beautiful. Especially the contrast between the lava and the ice, and of course the epic fucking staring contest, the Sauron getting his avatar destroyed and then being like, alright, I'll just make another one. You fool! You think I care about my best Sunday suit? I got 1,000 more of them, sucker! I also just love that, like, Lich King getting so believably frustrated. Like, Sauron just calls him out, and Lich King is like, "No, you lie, you fool! You can't be telling the truth," and leading into that epic death. Yes, the death is nothing special. It's not Omni-Man versus Homelander. It's not sad or a mercy kill. No, it's fantastical, and I think it suits here very much. Ryan and Philip are so great as Lich King and Sauron. Ryan as Sauron in particular, he sounded dead even with the original actor who played Sauron in Peter Jackson's films. It was very good. Even the track. I haven't been talking too much about the tracks, but this particular track is probably one of my favorites just because of how well it suits the fight. It is. It's a fantastic episode that really shows what happens when the Blender team are allowed to go super fucking hard. And I also got to say the writing for it is very strong too. So yeah, no, this is... remember how I said James Bond versus John Wick was my personal favorite 3D fight for a time? Well, that was up until this fight came in. Now, this fight is my favorite 3D fight of Season 9, and I commend everybody. So, yeah, fantastic fight. If people don't like it, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I guess you're just not into epic fantasy stuff. So, yeah, I feel bad for you.
Also, shout out to this episode, and you mentioned the writing, but shout out to this episode for having one of the greatest interactions between their characters.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
I'll tear out your heart.
You'll find nothing there.
There you go.
I was waiting for someone to finish it. Probably could have planned that out better. Oh well.
Yeah, whatever. All right.
So John, so as someone who's drawn both these characters before, I know you don't go like into every single detail ever for these boards, but I can't imagine drawing these two very easy.
I hate this fight. I hate this fight. I hate this fight. Every meeting, you have me say, "Oh, no, it's going great. I'm doing awesome. I'm doing great." I'm dying inside. Oh my god! If you've seen the boards, you'll see that I tried to put detail in, and then eventually, point you can see I just stopped caring. I just stopped caring.
Brobuscus can relate.
There are two to three things. Two main things I hate drawing, but the third thing is kind of something that most people. I hate drawing hats, and I hate drawing armor. But the secret third thing, I also hate drawing insects. Sort of an insect. Holy god. Armor? Oh. No. In the end, no. Still a good fight. I was happy to actually help with some of the effects, because I did some matte drawings, the portion where he does the shadow thing, and that obscures the orange Lich King.
Oh, yeah.
That was me. I drew that. I helped.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, this is like this was a good fight. Just never again, please.
Brobuscus can relate to you so
I can
bad.
relate.
Yeah, man.
I draw these characters for like videos, for like my reaction videos and for thumbnails and whatnot. And when I saw Sauron get shown in a teaser, I was like, oh, okay, cool. But then I remembered I had to draw him, and I was like, oh, come on. And then there's announced to be Lich King right after, and I'm sitting there drawing, and I'm like, I hate my life. I hate this. Yeah, I agree with you. Never again. not doing this again.
You hear that, Death Battle? Don't bring these two back. Don't do it.
I mean, also, I think this episode is good enough to not deserve that. But yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun.
right.
I got a better reaction than I was expecting.
My excitement is kicking up for this top three.
Oh gosh,
this is
you have
the
no
moment.
idea.
Okay. I think I have a good idea what order this is going to be in, but we'll see.
Yeah, same.
So yeah, we kind of alluded at it earlier, but our top. It's funny how like our bottom three have like at least one of our least favorite episodes, and then our top three has at least all of our number ones at top. Oh gosh.
Funny how that works.
Funny how
It's
that
just a
works.
matter of which of our number ones is going to get to number one.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so number three. I can't believe we're in the top three. Okay, number three. We should probably breeze through this because we've been going on for a little while.
We'll try.
Okay, number three with 12 points. Montage, please. Magneto versus Tetsuo.
What? What?
Well, I know who's number one. That was.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, no. It couldn't be who you're thinking.
Wait, what? No, I swear. I'm not complaining, but I swear if I get number one on this list again, after not expecting it, I freaking okay. Sorry.
Okay,
Anyway,
Magneto versus Tetsuo.
Rankings go.
Number 8 on my list, I'll explain. Number 3 on Richard, ZDogg, sorry, and then this is Richard's number 1.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so to breeze through it. Analysis is fine. I like them going into Tetsuo's gross mutated form. I saw some people saying that they didn't go they didn't really emphasize how disturbing it is. I'm like, you really don't have to. You can kind of just see it. Fight is fine. It looks pretty, even though it's bleak and desolate as all get out. Hearing Edward Bosco again was a treat. His performance as Magneto was fantastic. Joshua Waters as well, great job. Music, it's okay. I'm not terribly into it. But what really elevates it was everything after Tetsuo's mutated form came out. For one, that left Magneto speechless, and that's how you know things get wild. Hearing Tetsuo cry for help. At that point, I knew Magneto was probably going to win, but it was still what's he gonna do to him? And what he does to him, it's fitting, it's emotional, and yeah, it honestly has one of my favorite. Even though it's simple, it honestly has one of my favorite reactions I got out of seeing. Someone win, just the seeing Magneto shoot a laser at Tetsuo's brain, basically shutting it off, and just seeing Tetsuo say something just oh. So it's simple. It's not my absolute favorite reaction I got out of a result. We'll get to that later. But just the thought that was going through my head, and just the way I was I went out. I was yeah, that's yeah, I don't know, solid episode. I just like the other ones more. That's honestly why it's as low as it is.
Yep, makes sense. All right, my turn. Yeah, I really like what the analyses, them going into the different versions of Akira, whatever. It was really neat to see, and them covering Magneto. Did a very solid job covering Magneto. DJ overall did a good job for his first script. Fight was really good. I really like the setting. Ego Death was a very good track, very good and atmospheric. I love the storytelling of after what Brub said, after the mutated form comes out. That's a great, just Magneto wanting to help Tetsuo. That's a very good moment, and him finally putting him out of his misery is a very, very good moment, very powerful moment. I like it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to make this as short as possible just in case, but it's a very amazing episode. Very amazing for someone's first writing debut on the show. And yeah, I'm very happy with how it turned out, honestly. So yeah, that's about as fast as I could summarize it. So yeah.
I really love this episode, in case you couldn't tell. It is by far, it is, in my opinion, the best written episode of Season 9 in my book. DJ did a great job for his first script. I love the analysis. It's good. It's great. I love, like ZDogg said, that they go between the movie and the manga of Akira. Animation, hands down, one of my favorites. It has a story, it has stakes, it has character, it has everything, and then some. Hearing Edward Bosco back again as Magneto, great job. Marvel, if you're out there, please contact him. He would be a great replacement for Tom Kane, just saying. Joshua Waters back as Tetsuo. He did a great job. Both of them had great chemistry. They were very solid. The action was great. The effects work, the sprites, all of it. Ego Death, very good. It's bopping. I love it. It's very atmospheric, and the ending, especially when we see mutated Tetsuo, that's awesome. And I also love a little detail that not a lot of people are pointing out, but some have seen it. As soon as Tetsuo goes mutated form, we actually see Magneto's eyes change. We see his human contact eyes instead of pitch black or red. I thought that was a great little detail that didn't need to be done, but god dang it, I'm glad they did it. And yeah, the Mercy Kill. It's fucking fantastic. I think it's more effective here than Tanjiro versus Jonathan, but that's not to take anything away from that. I love that, but this just hit harder. And yeah, seeing Magneto do the humane thing and putting out a child and helping a child who needed it, that was great. I'm tearing up right now just talking about it. I'm dead serious. I do. This is a great fight, and if I had it my way, I would just rig the entire Death Battle award ceremony and just have this win H in every fucking category. But yeah, great episode. Really great. I love it.
All right.
John, is there anything you wanted to add before we move on?
Hands. I drew all the hands in this fight. This was the other episode.
That's candy.
Straight appreciate.
Oh, that's very funny, ZDogg.
Appreciate the fact that the emotional output of this, because Akira is one of my favorite movies, and while I'm not a comic book guy, Magneto was the dude that I basically grew up with in forms of anything comic related, watching the old X-Men movies, and Magneto was great. There's really nothing else really to talk about with this episode other than, I'm happy we were able to execute it properly. Of the fact that Akira as a movie and Tetsuo as a character is magic, and it wouldn't have gone great if we just made Magneto not become sympathetic at the end there. Essentially.
Yes.
Kind of get that like that human side of Magneto that he's kind of become nowadays.
Yeah, the dynamic of in the beginning of the fight and then at the end of the fight he sees him as just a person in need of help, and he's willing to give it to him.
Yeah.
See?
Solid.
All right.
Final two.
Final two.
Which one's it gonna be?
With 10 points. The last one to number one has single digits, which is very fun to me. But all right, number two, montage. I'm leaving you guys. I love it.
Fucking say it.
Sorry.
SpongeBob versus Aquaman.
Yeah, I knew it. I'll take it. Okay. I'll get. Oh my gosh.
So I actually have less to. I also have to explain myself here, but I actually have less to say than I did for Magneto versus Tetsuo. This is number 7 for me. Number 2 for Richard, and number 1 for ZDogg.
Great Neptune.
Yes. Honestly, yeah. I mean, I pretty much everything I said about Magneto versus Tetsuo pretty much applies here, just better, obviously, because it's a spot higher. The analysis is fine. I like the analysis a little bit more here because, like, they start off SpongeBob's being like, oh, this guy's just a pathetic loser, and then they end it like, oh my gosh, this guy's actually freaking ridiculous. And then with Aquaman, it's like, okay, yeah, there's got to have something here. And then at the end, they're like, oh, wait, no, he actually sucks. It's like kind of like an opposite thing going on, which I think is really interesting. The fight is fun. It's wacky. It's zany. It's cartoony. It's everything you would want out of a SpongeBob fight. I've heard people say this is Tom's weakest performance, and I genuinely don't understand how.
Bullshit.
Because he doesn't sound one-to-one like Tom Kenny, but he still has all the mannerisms and he nails the laugh. Though I honestly think Keston Howard steals the show in this one because that emotional moment he has during the middle of it, was really well delivered. And just in general, main thing is that this episode gave more respect to Super Friends Aquaman than Super Friends itself. So,
oh, the irony.
Oh, the irony. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, anything I could say about this episode, I have said about Magneto vs. Tetsuo. It's just better here. So I'm gonna stop talking and let Richard take over.
Okay. This is by far my favorite cartoon fight we've had. And that's not counting Poe versus Iron Fist. I do think this is a step up above Danny and Jake and Star vs. Steven. It's got everything I could want. The analysis, like Brobuscus said, it's the best. I think it's one of the best. It's hard to tell, but I love how they do it for SpongeBob. I love how they go over for Super Friends Aquaman. The fight itself, oh my god, this animation, it's fucking amazing. It starts off a little bit comedic, then it gets very fucking emotional in the middle, and then it gets epic towards the end. And that climax, oh my god, yes, 1,000 times yes. Keston Howard and Tom Schalk are amazing. I legit, I shit you not, I voted Keston Howard for the best male performance in the Death Battle Awards, and he deserves it because, my god, the range of emotions he's given for Super Friends Aquaman. But that's not to discount Tom, who delivers the most epic "I'm ready" quote ever when he's flying back. Also, Liam's cameo as the French narrator, awesome. And I love the ongoing joke. Damn it, it's Aquaman! And also, too, Ocean Men is a great track. It incorporates both Super Friends and SpongeBob at the same time. The only thing I disagree with this episode on is SpongeBob being a god. I still disagree with that. I think they went a little bit too overboard. He is he is a powerful Toon Force character, but he's not the be-all end-all god of Toon Force characters. Sorry. And yeah, and all I can really say and thank this episode for is it got me to go back and rewatch the SpongeBob SquarePants movie and Super Friends as a whole. I grew up with Super Friends. It was my introduction to Aquaman. That's very sad, so feel free to pity me. But I do. I love this episode. I've watched it so many times. I've laughed. I cried. It's fantastic.
Okay. Well, before I actually start getting into this episode, I don't know, I'm trying to make this short, but like, I don't think I properly gauged how excited I was. SpongeBob as a show is one of the shows that stuck with me the longest. It was one of my childhood obsessions alongside Mario. And it was one of the franchises, like second behind or tied with Skullgirls on the franchises I've wanted to come to Death Battle the most. And the fact they executed it as well as they did just makes me so happy. You have no idea how happy that makes me. Just the analyses are super funny. With both Wiz and this is my favorite voice acting for Wiz and Boomstick in the analyses this season. Makes me laugh, makes me smile as a fan of the show, and with how many references they squeeze in there, and how funny it overall is. The fight is just so good. I freaking love the sprite work. I love the voice acting. I love the track. I love the emotional moments. I just love so much about this. It makes me so happy. And I know, don't get me wrong, while Keston absolutely did fantastic as Aquaman, I think I like Tom's portrayal of SpongeBob more. He's not a one-to-one of Tom Kenny, but he's pretty damn close, honestly. And just how much energy he gives, and especially his recreation of the movie quote, it's so good. I can't praise this episode enough. As someone who's wanted this series has wanted SpongeBob on the show for so long, it's everything I could have wanted in a SpongeBob episode and even more, which is why it 100% tops my list. I love this episode so much. I'll come back to it anytime I'm feeling down. I just love this one so much.
I will say before I pass the mic over to John, one thing a complaint I saw about this episode that I want to address and kind of give my counter argument towards is the idea that this episode was kind of disrespectful to Aquaman.
Okay. Yeah,
really?
I've seen that a lot. Which,
No
okay.
shit.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the point.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's kind of the point.
that's kind of the
B,
point.
look, I'm gonna be honest. I probably would feel the same way if it was regular Aquaman, but with it being Super Friends, let me just be upfront. This might be brutal honesty, but it's honesty. Aside from people who have grown up with Super Friends, genuinely tell me one person who's going to give a crap about the treatment of Aquaman in this episode.
Yeah. And even then, like, that really only, I mean, yeah, it does also carry to the fight, but in the fight, he's given, like, that's kind of the point of the fight. Like, it shows him that he does show him a lot of respect in its own way. Like, that's kind of the point of SpongeBob pep talking him with, like, yeah, I can relate, but I still get up. I'm still ready. Like,
Yeah.
It like that was kind of the whole meaning behind that scene.
Yeah, again, I grew up with Super Friends, so I can tell you, this episode, as Brobuscus put it, this episode treated Super Friends Aquaman and with more dignity and more respect than the actual Super Friends cartoon. So who really gives a shit?
Yeah.
If this Aquaman wasn't treated like with just as much respect as his comic book counterpart or his other animated counterparts, that's the point. I guess nuance really is lost on people these days.
Yeah, well, that's the death metal community for you. Anyway, so John, actually, there was one thing I wanted to ask you because I did watch your boards for this, and one thing I mentioned this the last time we talked about this. One thing that was changed between your boards and the actual animation, it was at the ending.
Yeah.
In your boards, you had. I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. I'm just like making an observation. Like in your boards, SpongeBob draws the tombstone and then walks away all sad. But in the fight, I think it was Origin who came up with the idea of like, what if he instead of walking away, he stood there smiling. It's like, yeah,
no, like that was in the script. Like the script said that he walks away depressed, and that was me just following the script. I'm happy they changed it to him looking at it because it has a more emotional beat to it. So I can see why they wanted to change it. The only thing that the only input I had as a storyboard artist was the choreography of the back and forth between the Triton wielding Aquaman and pencil holding SpongeBob. That's about it. The only other thing I worked on with the fight is the entire beginning where you have Aquaman react to the robots getting destroyed by the spatula, and then the entire first lines of SpongeBob. That was all me, the entire animation bit, and that's about it.
nice.
Yeah, no. When I saw that change in the episode itself, I'm like, God, I'm happy that other people can input shit.
Yeah, I'm like obviously no offense, but like I am so happy. Like not only does that still get me.
Don't say it to me. Say it to the writer. That's his vision, not mine.
I know. I wasn't trying to make it like that. Like that, I'm not ashamed to make like that moment still like gets me every time I watch it. I don't know why. It's just it hits you right in the gut.
Well, I think I have a pretty good
ways.
idea as to why.
No. If we haven't gotten to a particular, considering that there's one episode left, if you want to talk about offense to one person's vision to another person's vision, just wait until we talk about that.
Oh boy.
I still do imagine Aquaman shouting from the heavens when he sees that tombstone. God dang it! It's Aqua. You know what? It's fine. You know, it's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
We're cool.
I imagine Aquaman would just be like, okay, whatever.
Just take it. Just take
Yeah.
it. Take the compliment.
Yeah. Actually, I forget. Oh my gosh, I forget the guy's name. He did this. There was someone on Twitter who did this really good poster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's the one where SpongeBob holds the grave and he's crying.
And he added,
He added an inscription on the tombstone.
Yeah, hold on. I think I'm trying to find it. I have it saved in my photos. Where are you? You're here somewhere. I know it.
Gosh.
It's basically saying like, you know, hero as Ocean Man, a true superhero and a true super friend, or something along those lines.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And I'm
If
just
you find it, we can just show it on screen.
yeah, there it is. Yeah, a true superhero and a true super friend. Yeah, I pretty much hit it. Yeah, my gosh, it's like I was like, okay, no, okay. Last one, number one. If you're familiar with the process of elimination, you know exactly where this is going. And I could not be happier.
Yep, you finally got one. I think.
I finally got one.
Yeah.
Well, with 6 points. Future me, cue the music. Trunks versus Silver.
I told you, it's no use.
No use.
Yeah, honestly, Brobus probably remembers this. When we were talking about this list, I kind of figured this would be the topping. What would be the top of the list? Honestly,
Absolutely. I knew this was going to be number one.
Yeah. Okay, so obvious. This is my number one. Actually, my number one, ZDogg's number two, Richard's number three. So.
Yay! Late order.
Woohoo.
Let's go.
Okay, so I'll go first. Yeah. So do not mistake me for putting it in at number 3 to mean anything other than it wasn't good. No, that is not the case. I swear to you on my life that this episode was fucking amazing from beginning to end. As a massive Trunks fan, I was so happy he finally got into Death Battle, despite the fact that he has been grossly overused in the Versus community in many different Versus shows.
Don't freaking remind me.
I'm sorry. But I've always wanted to see Death Battle do Silver justice. I hated the fucking rumor that Silver could never get on Death Battle because Ben Singer hates Silver and he doesn't like characters that he hates getting on the show. But spoiler,
where's this come from? Because
I don't know.
Okay, I can answer this.
Sasuke wasn't, you know.
Yeah, same thing they said about Sasuke. He came in. And,
Yeah. It was basically the same thing.
When has Ben Singer been the all? And by the way, when has Ben Singer really sat down and said, okay, here's all the list of people that I extremely hate and will never get on the scene? When he actually says it. When has that ever happened?
Hell, he made a big deal. He made a big deal about not including Yoda, and look where that got him.
Yeah.
This is like Sakurai not putting a certain character in the Smash Up again. It's like, where's the rule book, actually? Are you thinking go along?
Exactly. Yeah. No. So yeah. Those of you who bring that in this conversation, shut up. I love the analogy. I first off, I love that it's Heroes Trunks and Archie Silver. Thank you.
Yeah, this is the only way I would have accepted this fight.
Yes. No. If it was just regular Silver versus Dragon Ball Z through Super Trunks, then yeah, this would have been completely redundant and not worth the time and energy. But since it was Heroes and Archie, it was a great opportunity to learn about these different incarnations. Mainly Heroes, because, ooh, boy, let me tell you, man, Heroes gets fucking crazy. And that's just putting it lightly.
Yeah.
I love how they brought in my girl, Jocelyn, to explain some of the hero stuff. I loved getting to learn about Silver in the Arch universe, including the Spawn cameo. That was nice. And then the bit where Boomstick brings up, which I too brought up, how Trunks made the Great Saiyan Man actually badass. So suck on that, Gohan. You just got regular clothes, but Trunks has fucking a Power Ranger armor and a goddamn sword. So, the animation is so god tier. Oh my god, like it's amazing. For all the problems that I had with Vegeta and Thor, which John did bring up a great point on that, that's all fixed here. And I think that also helps because Trunks only has a certain number of transformations, and them just choosing to do base, Super Saiyan, and then God, that made the pacing much better. The choreography, which just devolves into a game of cat and mouse, Trunks trying to get in close, but Silver keeping him at a distance. The VFX work on the telekinesis, the Masenko, the Ki Blast, the Final Flash, the Gallic Gun, all great. And I'll get to that end climax in just a bit. Hearing Kaiser Neko back as Trunks was a very good treat. He was the MVP for me personally, just because I loved his Trunks, and I'm so happy he got to come back, because who the hell else were you going to get? You couldn't get anybody else. And then you know who as Silver. I'm not even going to bother saying his name, which is just something backwards. I'm just going to refer to him as you know who. He did a great job as Silver. And that end climax, oh my god, like, that end climax slaps way harder than Thor versus Vegeta, just because of the build-up, and then those two quotes, the time hog, it's no use, and then just how Trunks goes out. And I heard a lot of people, I mentioned this in the past, and I bring it up here, but I hate how people once again felt like Trunks got disrespected and was done dirty in this episode, research-wise and fight-wise. That's bullshit. It took, Brobuscus said it himself, it took an official fan fiction version for Silver to win, and he made Silver work for it. So no, Trunks put up a hell of a fight, and I love it. And lastly, and I'm sorry, but I'm sticking to it, Hedges of Tomorrow is the best track of Season 9. I love it. I've listened to it repeatedly, and oh my god, is it fantastic. It's so good. I love this episode. I don't want Trunks to come back, because I feel like they did a good job with him here, and I do. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of Season 9. And it being number 3, it's proof of that. It's a great episode.
All right.
ZDogg.
My turn.
Tag you in.
Okay. Well, freaking man, I can't, like, what? It's just like, I can't praise this episode enough, man. I can't. It's so good. for a lot of the reasons you said. Analysis is really neat and interesting to learn about both Xenoverse and Archie, go more in depth. Freaking Jocelyn, love to see her in the spotlight. But the fight, just, there's so much cool stuff about it. I freaking adore a lot about it. Freaking the voice actors both do a fantastic job. Probably either this or SpongeBob Aquaman is my favorite set of voice actors in the series. There's so many cool moments, all the backgrounds look beautiful. Just so good. I cannot praise this episode enough. Just there's so much about it, and the climax. Oh my gosh, the climax. Well, actually, hold on. A few more highlights before I get into that. The rip-off line, I love that. I know, I don't care if it's drawn out. I love that they brought it back. The moon explosion is so cool, so impactful. The
crap baskets.
The crap basket, yeah. The gotcha pull made me so proud. The funniest moment in the fight. It just makes me laugh every time. Gosh. And the climax, starting with the chaos, starting with the key sword summoning onward till the end, is so amazing. Just so many cool vocal performances, such gorgeous set pieces. The two absolutely banger lines at the end.
They made it's no use
They-
badass.
Yeah, they
This
did.
is the modern day. I'm not playing God. All this time I've been playing human. This is the new that.
Like I said in our first episode, that's illegal to make that line sound so cool.
Yes.
Gosh, I mean, I don't know what else I could say that Richard hasn't already. It's just an amazing episode, and I'm so happy it happened after all. It's just so amazing, and definitely my choice for the runner-up. Just so good, man.
You guys have no idea how happy I am that this episode is a thing.
I think we do, considering where you put it.
It's really the only thing I can add that's different is just the overall feeling I felt like going into from the moment Trunks was teased to when the episode came out. Because I always had the biggest amount of apathy towards Trunks versus Silver as a general matchup. More specifically, obviously the mainline versions, Z/Super Trunks versus Game Silver. If they had done that, I would have been in a completely different mood. But I've voiced my opinion against Trunks versus Silver for years at this point. So when I saw this finally get announced and they showed he is fighting Silver because who the hell else is gonna fight? And then they just drop on us. It's it's Heroes and Archie. I was like, oh my gosh, wait a second, that changes everything. So the rest of those 2 weeks, the 2 week waiting period for this was it was fun, but it was also frightening because it's now Silver actually has a chance, but it's also wait, I felt the same way about Raiden and he got destroyed. So I'm just sitting here I'm crossing my fingers, all of my fingers. I'm just Silver, my boy, please, please don't lose this. And then the fight comes out.
Spoiler alert, he did.
And just they turned a match that I had probably the biggest amount of apathy I've felt towards a matchup. They took that and made it one of my favorite episodes of the show. It's honestly amazing what they were able to do with this. It's just the amount of respect. I don't have anything against Trunks. He's a fine character. It's like I said before, I just kind of fell out of Dragon Ball. But I'm a huge Sonic fan, and I'm a huge Silver fan, and the amount of disrespect that Silver's been getting from all circles of pretty much every community, really, is frankly I'm sick of it, because I've always liked Silver, even when I first heard of him as a character, when I saw him in Sonic 06. And, say what you will about the game, but I might be the only person in the history of the world who looks at the game, looks at how they did Silver, and thought, yeah, that seems like a cool character. So to see him get the respect that I felt he deserved, while also giving a really good match for Trunks, I will say, if there was one thing I could say against this episode, is that I feel like they don't do a great job of introducing Trunks. Just kind of like throws you in, being like, yeah, everybody knows that Trunks is freaking cool, right? Which probably only would have worked had they had done Trunks before. But at the same time, I also, like, as someone who does know Trunks and does like Trunks, yeah, he's pretty cool. So I didn't really have much of a problem with it. And just in general, the fight is fantastic. I don't really know what I can say about it that these two haven't already. Just
It's golden.
It's golden. In some cases, literally.
Ironic, considering one is named and looks, silver.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I won't go too in depth on Isu Onsti. I think everybody's read up on the situation there at this point, but he's fantastic. Cue the it almost sounds like he's voiced Silver before joke. You've all heard it.
Party hard.
I also agree. I'm not a Dragon Ball Z Bridge fan, but I will agree hearing Kaiser as Trunks was great. And I'm just gonna be upfront. Dragon Dance has me thinking on this a little bit more, but before that, Hedge of Tomorrow is my favorite track in Death Battle history.
Dag.
It's like I genuinely love this track.
If I may, because I didn't actually comment on it when I did mine, like, I can't stop listening to it. It is my favorite track of the season and one of my new favorites of all time. It's so good. Just both sides did amazing with it. And yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Just wanted to.
And this also has, by far, my favorite reaction to seeing a character win. The fact that I had to put a volume warning, I felt the need to put a volume warning in my reaction. Once that KO screen appeared, that made my day. Someone who's had to sit through so much disrespect for Silver, and someone who had to see Trunks win every single versus fight he's ever been in. This felt super cathartic. So yeah, I have no regrets on putting this one at the top of my list, and I'm so happy that this made number one on our overall list.
Yeah, it finally. It honestly feels like I mean, a lot of your number ones don't make it there, so I am actually very happy that your number one finally made it to the top.
Yeah.
Triumphed over the others. That does make me happy as well. Gosh.
If we ever do a go back, I kind of want to go back to some of those to some of the older seasons, ones that we haven't done rankings for. I feel like we might get a few of them. I feel like we might get a few of my number ones up there.
Probably.
But
for another day.
Yeah. John, you had something interesting to say about this.
when it comes to this fight, so the ending to the fight, how would you say the Trunks' death was handled?
Very good.
I freaking love it. Honestly, like it just bringing the sword back. I just really, and then he struggles. That's the thing. He doesn't just get impaled by it. He struggles a little bit before, but then Silver has to edge it, and I really like that.
Yeah. In the original script, he just gets stabbed in the back, and that's it.
Oh, that's lame.
Yeah, in the original script, it was just, he says, it's no use, teleports the sword back. Trunks just fucking floats there like a goober, and then he gets stabbed in the back with his own sword. And I'm sitting there like, no, I don't care, I'm changing this. I'm having him turn around, fight it. I mean, like, granted, in a smarter situation, he would just sidestep it. But if we're gonna have him die, have him struggle to stop it. And then, even though he's still struggling to stop the forward momentum of his own attack, Silver needs to use his own telekinesis to push him forward into the attack as well, allowing both sides to essentially work against them. And I'm happy they kept that, because I may not be as big as a Trunks fan as everyone else is in the Dragon Ball Z community, but I do like Trunks. I didn't want to just see him die just because he wasn't paying attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
this isn't Dragon Ball Super Trunks.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by sometimes the animators or anyone in general has the ability to change certain things in the script. So it really is a passion project with everybody, depending on whose hands it is in to put their own spin on something. Because I really am happy I'm able to do that for the death, because I think that's a little bit better than just having them die like that. Along with the fact that guys, throughout the entire script, Silver was nerfed.
Oh my god.
For some reason, I don't know who's in charge of it, but the entire time, they didn't think Silver could affect organic life with his telekinesis.
Oh.
And I'm sitting here like, have you played Sonic 06, where the most annoying thing about his fight is grabs you and you?
Yes.
I'm not sure if you noticed, but Sonic is an organic being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I pretty much put in the standings that, okay, Silver couldn't use his telekinesis on Trunks throughout the entire fight is because Trunks is powerful enough to resist it, or it just would be pointless to use it on him at that current point in time. But when Trunks is actually distracted, he's able to use it because he's not seeing it coming at that point. And there you go, your egos are okay.
Yeah.
So all in all, I was happy to see that people like this fight and to see that it's your number one pick over the fact. But to have the depth be just a whimper like that, I'm happy to look at the changes. And that's about it. That's the main difference I was able to bring over to the fight. Happy I wasn't able to draw any hands. But I am apparently fairly good at drawing Silver on my board, so I'm good with that too. That's it.
Drawing Sonic characters is deceptively easy.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, so yeah, there you go. I don't know if I'll have our rankings like slide in like credits, considering I'll have them in the montages anyway. But if I do, here you go. Yeah, what a season this has been.
What a season, man. Gosh.
I'm giving the thumbs up. It was a great season.
Even when it had its lows, they weren't unwatchable. That's what I like.
Exactly.
They were still decent. And our list really did come down to not hatred and love and favorable, but no, it really was like we enjoyed these episodes more. That's a strong testament to this season and how far we're coming. Because last season when we did our rankings, it was more or less just, yeah, these episodes are okay, not as great as we like, but yeah, still okay. But then when we got to the bigger episodes, they overshadowed the bottom ones.
Yeah, this honestly, I said this before, but this is honestly like one of the most like consistent seasons. I feel.
Absolutely.
Like, with some of those, with some of the previous seasons, you have some episodes that are like series highlights, and then other episodes that are like series low points. With this season, you kind of have like you have your top episodes. They might not be series highlights, at least to a certain amount of people, but they're still like really good. And then the lower ones are like they're still fine. Like and it's like this season started off and it's just like bam, new banger episode, bam, banger episode, bam, banger episode. I'm like, like, we're just getting overloaded.
It got harder
here.
and harder.
Yeah. And I just honestly also appreciate how experimental the lineup got with how many wild series we haven't had before, and just the what the heck we're actually getting with.
Yeah, even
like,
with existing franchises, we got experimental.
Yeah, like with Zeno, like with Trunks and Aquaman.
Yeah, exactly. Trunks and Aquaman, but then having new franchises like Lord of the Rings, James Bond, John Wick,
SpongeBob.
Warframe, and then kicking it to mythologies for Sun Wukong and Heracles. This is probably the most diverse season we've had as well.
Yeah. 100%.
Mhm.
Everyone deserves claps. All right. This is probably going to be our first two-parter episode, because...
Oh, fun. Well, John, do you have anything overall with your experiences this season you want to get out as well? Overall?
Other than I'm always doing my best to make every episode as enjoyable as possible. Considering that I was a Death Battle fan before I was working for them, I myself always had ideas to what other people was thinking to make an episode better, and that's why I try to really put some fan type of like energy into a lot of these fights. It's like, oh, would I enjoy watching this? That's why I do it, and so that's why I never try to like skimp out on whatever thing I do with the boards. That's why they hate me over at the office, actually. There are many moments where they say, hey, yeah, I know this is your job, but can you please stop and kind of calm down a little bit? Like, but it'd be cool though. Yes, we agree, it'd be cool, but can we we'll fucking try, let's do it. Yeah, I like that energy that we have going on. So yeah, it works out, because whatever, like when people like Luis or Zach ever say that I help them push for better animation for a particular fight, even though a certain like shot would be kind of hard to do, they're excited to do it because it's like, if we pull it off, it'll be cool. And then there are moments where it kind of looks jank, but that's them doing their best, and we're meaning well in that aspect. Yeah. So to hear all of you guys talk about this season as a whole, and basically say that pretty much there was no episode that you can necessarily say was the worst episode, and any episode was like the definitive greatest, is definitely showing that we're really starting to put up a stride. Because I can see that, because I'm the first real storyboard artist that they brought in, so they wanted to do a storyboard-esque thing for the season to come. And I can tell from the first season that I first joined that there were some growing pains, because I believe it was 2 seasons ago, they said it was most a very divisive season, and then it started to get better as time went on. So I think this is our point where we finally got a sense of how we're structuring stuff, I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah, no, I enjoyed being here, enjoyed talking.
Yeah, it was fun to have you.
Yeah, we're really glad to have you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if fans like it, hey, we could do it again, for the next Death Battle season ranking. So that way, if John comes back, or if we just get any crew member from Death Battle, they don't have to worry about having Ben or Chad kill them from a distance, because the season's already over, and they can just talk about their experiences on this past season.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right.
And this is how we beat the lads.
Well, if you want to see how we really do against the lads, we have maybe stay tuned in the next episode. Who knows?
Who knows?
But all right.
All right.
I think it's finally time for us to close this off.
Yeah, for real. The longest episode ever, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Brobuscus is gonna die.
Oh, I'm already dying. Can you not hear me?
God.
It's okay. Maybe ZDogg can share your agony with you.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't want to spread that if I don't have to.
I will help you with the montages if you want.
Okay.
Just in case.
I
I
might send you an idea of what I'm looking for.
We could split this into parts. We could steal from the lads.
This is probably going to be a two-parter.
I was gonna say, yeah, with how long this is. All right.
Yeah, get the viewership up. Woo!
Anyways, yeah, we're gonna wrap this up here. So let us know what you thought about our ranking. Let us know what is your personal ranking. I'm actually very interested to see what more people have on this, because again, very divisive. John, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. It was a blast to have you. And with that, we are finally going to wrap up. So, with all that said, thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.
Have a good one.
Bye.